Good Sunday evening, everybody. Um, Welcome to the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season. We finally have something to look forward to. This little area right here, currently given a 50% chance of development over the next 5 days. This is a little bit of a unusual situation where it's coming off of the United States and into the Gulf of Mexico and then starting to form. Um, Depending on how long it stays over water will depend on how strong it gets. And if we look at a couple of the models, I'll start with the GFS. I'll run this through. You can see here comes the area of low pressure into the Gulf of Mexico, and the GFS kind of has it sitting down here and then shoots it off back to the northeast. Whether or not this happens, I'm not too sure, but I know there's a lot of factors going into where this thing is going to go, so we'll have to see. And then here's the European, and this one shows a little bit different. It shows it getting really kicked way to the west after it comes into the Gulf of Mexico. I'll let that play again. You can see it come down and then, then takes a really big jog back to the west. And again, whether or not that happens, I really don't know. CMC kind of shows the same thing as the GFS. It kind of meanders down into the Gulf of Mexico right next to Florida, tightens up a little bit, and then shoots it off back to the northeast. So there's a very large area between Louisiana and the Florida Peninsula where this thing could end up. And again, depending on how long it remains over the water, depends on how strong it gets. And if we look at this is the ocean heat content. And you can see down here, it's not all too impressive, but in this general area is where they expect it to go. The European, at least, will pass through this area. Unfortunately, these white areas, it does not show on this map. But if it happens to cross over these lighter yellows and oranges over here, that is a little bit more fuel for it. And obviously if it gets down here into these reds, that's really bad news. This is the SST composite of the Gulf of Mexico. Just hot. That's basically what the Gulf of Mexico is right now. These are all roughly around 30 degrees Celsius, and that's basically almost all of the Gulf of Mexico, which is kind of ridiculous. So it will have no trouble finding hot water to suck life out of, basically. And regardless of development, this is your 7-day rain map, and look at all these oranges. This is 5 to 10 inches all in this area. Thankfully, that's mostly over water, but you can see Florida is just getting soaked for the next 7 days. It's between 2 to looks like about 5 inches throughout the entire Florida peninsula. So regardless of development, rain is the big weather story from this thing. And depending on who's right, the European or basically everybody else, because the Europeans, I think the only one that's showing it going way the heck over here looks to be like a strong tropical storm, maybe. This is the GFS. Here's the European. Yeah, 994 into Louisiana. So that's a big difference from over here to over here. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But until then, see you later.